Hello Patreon and welcome to another review. So sorry there's been a week off, I was busy, I was travelling a bit, but yeah, I'm back now and hopefully you'll get this review today and then either tomorrow or Friday you'll be getting another one. So I do apologise for none last week, but I'm making up for it now. So I can't actually remember last time what I said I was going to review next. However, regardless of what I said, I'm going to be talking about the Series 9 opener, The Magician's Apprentice / The Witch's Familiar. Now obviously, as you are aware, what I tend to do is a story that I like, then a story that I dislike. So last time I spoke about The Invasion in 1968 with Patrick Troughton, a story that I absolutely fucking adore. So let's talk about the biggest pile of fucking shit I think Stephen Moffat... Alright, no, not the biggest, but one of the biggest piles of shit that Stephen Moffat ever produced within his era. It astounds me to this day how there are people who genuinely like this story. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything about it is flat out terrible, because it's not. But the majority of this is just garbage. And it really pisses me off that Dan, who does the podcast with me, he fucking likes it. So, basically, the premise of this story is Davros wants to see the doctor because he's dying. The really frustrating thing with this story is it has so many good ideas in there, but none of them are explored. Or what it gives us is totally and utterly pointless, nonsensical things that don't need to be there, that are just eating up screen time, taking away time from the things that should be the focus of the story, such as the young Davros. Moffat just had a habit, right, especially around this time, where he would just add in things that just didn't need to be there. They were just kind of there for the sake of being there. An example of this for me is the hand mines. So yeah, they're a cool idea. I think the design of them is actually pretty cool as well. But the problem is, they don't need to be there. They could have been saved for a totally different episode. Because when you look back to a story such as Genesis of the Daleks, the Doctor, Sarah and Harry are of course walking across the wastelands of Skaro, where it has been a war zone. We saw early on in that story that there are bodies, there are casualties, there are victims of war. And the start of this story, to its credit, does a similar type of thing. But the difference is, in Genesis of the Daleks, you get a scene where the Doctor accidentally stands on a landmine, which is perfectly fine and works for the story. Why we needed some alien science fiction threat when just a simple landmine would have done the exact same job, I have no idea. So part one, The Magician's Apprentice, basically is people getting to where the story is. Now I take massive issue with this because it's not clever to start the story before it needs to be started. I don't think it's interesting or engaging to tell a totally different story of our characters getting from point A to point B when the story should just start where it needs to start. Missy, Clara, Unit, none of that needs to be in this story. Another thing that really irritates me with this first part in particular is why the fuck Davros has a assistant. I mean, obviously, yes, you can say, well, in Genesis he had Nyder. But the difference is, Nyder was also a Khaled. He was one of Davros's people. Now, the reason for why Davros created the Daleks in the first place was because out of pure hatred, he wanted to build this race in his image that would be the ultimate weapon, the ultimate machine, the conquerors of the universe. He hated everything that wasn't Khaled / Dalek. So why is his assistant some random fucking snake man? Like, that's not in Davros's character at all. And right, look, people can say to me, well, in Genesis there's them big clams, there's a few other things, maybe it's one of Davros's experiments. I mean, it might be, but it's not explained. Also, there's that stupid fucking thing on the guitar as well, with the tank. Terrible, awful, cringe-worthy moment of Doctor Who. People seem to like it, no idea why. I remember watching it thinking, oh, fucking hell. I mean, seeing Unit is fine. I do like Kate Stewart and that lot. I think they're fun. I also like seeing the Shadow Proclamation as well. That's pretty cool and a nice throwback. But apart from that, there aren't many moments in this first episode where I'm just like, oh, wow, yeah, this is cool. I'm interested to see where this is going. Obviously, there's the young Davros thing, but I will get to that in a bit. So basically, Colin Asaf is roaming around the universe on his hoverboard because he wants the Doctor, because Davros is dying, and he wants to see the Doctor for some reason. Because this won't be a trap, will it? Surely not. Then the Doctor reluctantly agrees, and then he heads over there. And they end up on Skaro, and then, like, Missy gets killed. Clara gets killed. The TARDIS gets blown up. And it's just like, this is the first fucking episode of the series. Obviously, the TARDIS is not gone, Clara's not dead, Missy's not dead, the Doctor isn't in a shit ton of peril. Like, why? This felt like a finale in the terms of what it's trying to set up and tease and hint at, and it just doesn't work. Also, why is there so many different types of Dalek for the sake of it? It just feels like fan wank. I mean, granted, in this story, the special weapons Dalek actually talks, and some of the others talk a bit, but they don't need to be there, just stick with the bronze ones. So going into the Witch's Familiar then, and I've got to say, this episode, whilst it is definitely the better part of the two, it's still fucking shit, in my opinion, because the good things that it does, it ruins, and it neglects to focus on the things that would have made this a genuinely great episode of Doctor Who. So the stuff between the Doctor and Davros I think is really, really good. I love their conversations, and you can kind of get the vibe that Davros really has matured, and when he's talking to the Doctor and he's saying things like, you need a people, you know, I'm happy for you. I really enjoyed that, and I will always say that a Doctor's finest moment typically is when they're talking with Davros. You look at the scene in Genesis of the Daleks, that is a great scene for the Fourth Doctor, and this one is no exception. There is some truly great lines here in this episode, and I love the way that Julian Bleach does this really great version of Davros who is dying, and Capaldi bounces off it fantastically. Then you get to that fucking scene where he opens his eyes, don't you? This episode, man, oh no. It's even more fucking stupid now the more that I think about it. What made Davros so brilliant and so creepy was that he was this man ravaged by war. Like, he was made totally crippled. His eyes were burnt away or burnt shut or something like that. Those eyes that he has on his face no longer exist, as a sort of metaphor to blinding him of logical sense, because after he was disabled the way that he is, that's when he becomes the megalomaniac that he is, and he has this false eye with a false perspective on how to view the world. He's got such a warped fucking view because of his damage from war. So why the fuck does he open his eyes? He's just had them shut for his entire fucking life, has he? How is that good? It just seemed like a cheap way to do a rip-off of Return of the Jedi. Plus, it looks like somebody has stuck googly eyes on him. It doesn't look like real eyes, which obviously I know that they are, but obviously because Julian Bleach is wearing the mask, it just looks like somebody's got some stupid fucking cartoon eyes and just plonked them on this mask. Now, there's bits in this episode with Missy and Clara, and I don't care. I don't really remember any of it. It doesn't add much. There's a couple of nice moments with Missy where she pushes Clara down that hole and was like, oh, it's 20 feet. That's a cool moment, but apart from that, the main focus of this story should have been young Davros. It should have been a story focused on the Doctor accidentally landing on Skaro in the middle of the Khaled-Thal War, discovering this child, and then after he saved him, realised that it was Davros. And it is that whole argument of, well, if you came across baby Hitler, would you kill him? Because on the one hand, you'd be saving so many lives, but on the other hand, that experience of, in this case, Hitler and the Nazis, was a real eye-opener for the entire world and changed the course of history, arguably for the better if it hadn't have happened. I mean, it's a very philosophical question, it's a very deep question, obviously it's very hypothetical as well, but that's what Doctor Who does. It makes you think, it makes you ask questions, it tries to answer those questions, it will give you different options to think about. But this episode either wasn't brave enough to do that, or Moffat just thought, fuck it, I'll just stick some Daleks in there. There is a truly great Doctor Who story in there. You can go so many different ways with the young Davros and the Doctor saving him and what the Doctor then will do. But we get so little time with young Davros that it's just wasted. I mean, granted, the kid is a shit actor. I mean, maybe he'll go on and be this incredible actor and an Oscar winner and whatnot, but right now in 2015 when this was, no, he's terrible. But you can't really hold that against a kid, really. I mean, if you really love this story, then that is fair enough, but just think about what we actually got in this story compared to what we could have had with exploring the Doctor and Davros's relationship in two different time periods. You have younger Davros with the Doctor thinking, should I save him? Should I, you know, what should I do? Should I influence him to be better? And then you compare that to where the Doctor and Davros are now, in the present day. That could have been really interesting, but instead we have to throw in a load of crap in the first part and then kind of rush the second part, and Davros betrays the Doctor, which was obvious and everybody saw coming, including the Doctor, which makes the point of him going there in the first place pretty fucking redundant. The story didn't need to fucking happen, basically. There's so many nonsensical pieces of shit in this story that it's just ridiculous. Like, if Davros has a shield on his chair, and that's why the Daleks can't exterminate him when the Doctor's in Davros's chair, how the fuck did the Doctor get Davros out of that chair in the first place then, to get in that chair? This one's giving me a fucking headache. Absolutely fucking garbage, basically. That's what I would say about this story. But it has its moments, it has its potential, but honestly, this is a strong fucking 1 out of 10. This is a fucking terrible story. This genuinely angers me quite a bit with hindsight. It didn't piss me off as much when I first watched it. I just thought, yeah, this is a bit shit. But the more I think about it and the more I think of what it could have been, it just angers me. Not as much as Hellbent, it's just such a shame. Especially considering this could have been a very good opportunity to actually kill off Davros. Obviously this is a show about time travel. We could have easily encountered Davros again. He could have been earlier in his personal timeline, but I don't know. So next time I will have a more cheerier review, because I'll be talking about a story that I like. I don't know if... Actually, I've not done a Tom story yet, have I? Oh no, I've done the Leisure Hive, but that was a bad one. Yeah, so I'm going to do a 4th Doctor story next, I think. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting me on Patreon and on my channel as well. I appreciate it always. On the comments on either the YouTube video or the Patreon comments, let me know what you think of this story, but fucking hell, it's bad to me. Really bad. Anyway, thank you for watching again and the support, and yeah, see you in a few days with the next review. Take care.